Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
As always, guys, please do make sure you're subscribed to all three channels. Got that little bell clicked. Hopefully you guys will get notifications. Evolutionary, the original channel, EEARTS, and Heart's Home. As far as YouTube goes, we're also on Brighteon, Bitchute, and Rumble. Of course, every single place on this planet is censored in some way. Every single thing is censored in some way. Why? Well, because we are in the midst of this gigantic, enormous, interdimensional, intergalactic battle of consciousness.
There's a lot going on. There's cycle after cycle after cycle. And just like in our daily personal lives, we are coming up on things that will challenge us once again as far as emotional triggers go, or things that we need to grow and expand on. So this is a cycle we go through in our daily lives, and it's not just about us. It's as above, so below. So you can understand that the entire universe, everything in its natural courses, is going to go through cycles. So bigger cycles, littler cycles. But gosh, isn't it nice to kind of know about where are you at in the cycle?
Yeah, so if we look, this is the position of the planets today. And so we see, you see the Earth there, the old third rock from the sun, so to speak. And we have Luna right next to the Earth, and there's Mars, and here's Venus, Mars and Venus. Mars, god of war. Venus, all about love. Goddess in love, war, masculine, aggressive. Why do we have these connotations with the planets? Is there some reason for it? What is the reason for it? Well, again, we've shared with you guys information that we get directly from the Galactic Federation, from our guides, which includes Yeshua, includes beings like Krishna as well. And we're going to be delving into a lot of tangent thought lines that will hopefully give you guys more complete picture. And on Heart's Home, we'll go and we're going to be focusing more totally on the spiritual side of things. And this is a good one for evolution, for EEARTS, I should say, because it's getting into the hidden side of things, the esoteric side of things, and why things are the way they are. We talked about Tiamat before. Tiamat is so key in our in understanding who we are. So is Mars, because Mars, again, god of war. Mars is one of the closest planets to us. And, again, there is a reason why it's the god of war. Absolutely. Certainly it has its own energies. Each planet is a being. That is a fact. But Mars has had a interaction with the Earth that is unique, and maybe it will, an understanding of that interaction will lead a greater understanding to the geopolitical situation on the Earth as we look at a representation of Nibiru. Now, you could tell when you look at Nibiru, it looks like, if you guys remember Star Wars, looks like Darth Vader's home planet. It looks fiery, red, and also darkness, the blackness. There's so much allegory in here. Mars is red. And again, red we could associate with aggression. We could associate red with war. If I said, give me the color of war, I think there's going to be a lot of people saying red out there. Some might say black for death and darkness, and etc. When we talked about the true history of the Earth, and you could look to the Bible and Genesis, and again, if you want to find the truth in the Bible, you got to wade through the obvious allegory and the obvious control stories. And you will see many people have said there's two different creation stories in the Bible. Well, yeah, because in the reality, the original creation story was about Tiamat as far as what this planet was originally. This planet that we're on right now was Tiamat. Tiamat was destroyed by the dark forces that are trying to control you right today. Tiamat was destroyed, but it was brought back to life. There was a recreation. And so its next incarnation was as Earth. And this didn't happen all that long ago. In fact, when we look to a lot of evidence around us, you can see evidence of giants, of giant structures, of things that don't make any sense. And we brought this up before, and truly I could make this video last all day by pulling up different references just to support the positions that we're talking about here. And again, we're not looking at this like from a he said, she said standpoint, unless that he said and she said it includes the Galactic Federation, and again, beings like Yeshua, Aset, who most know as Isis, Lakshmi, Krishna, and so many other beautiful, benevolent beings that give us the true history of our planet. And, you know, Barbara Handclough, again, wrote a book called Catastrophobia, where she said it looked like humanity has been traumatized to such a great deal that we have a hard time dealing with these past traumas. And I, for one, will raise my hand, and Cindy knows the fear I felt going through certain parts of the desert. And what it was direct recollections of disaster and extermination that happened to different peoples at different times. And we've had many incarnations on Earth, and Cindy and I know when we first came to Earth, we came to Earth for the very first time with Aset, with the being you would know as Isis, as one of her group, and came here in the Golden Age to help humanity. And we've taken hundreds of incarnations since that time, working behind the scenes, working a little in front of the scenes to again help humanity free itself from the clutches of this dark controlling power. This truly is a battle that has been ongoing for a very, very long time. It doesn't just involve Earth. This is the Devil's Tower in Wyoming, and so many have mentioned what it really is. Is this a rock structure, or what is this?
I don't know. I mean, take a good hard look at it. Sure looks familiar, but if it were to be a little smaller, if you were just walking along, you'd happen upon, it would look like a tree stump, Right. So it's something that really you have to do a lot of searching to find this stuff. You need to be awake and understand that, hey, things are not as they seem. But once you just do a little bit of looking, you can start to understand that these things, these structures are very familiar, but just, a smaller version or a larger version of what we see now.
Absolutely. So, on Tiamat was much bigger than Earth. Earth was created from the remnants of Tiamat. The asteroid belt that we see is also remnants of Tiamat. So, that is a direct scar, from this horrible war that went on and claimed so many different incarnated souls. Now, of course, the souls go on. The creation here in the 3D, again, this is in many ways the most tangible, certainly the densest realm, and things here can be impacted, even destroyed, by beings of higher density. And they can interact and control beings of this same density as the planet is from our viewpoint. So yes, absolutely, there are relics of Tiamat everywhere. There are things that just don't make sense. This would be a tree of immense size, but on a planet that was much, much bigger than Earth, yeah, sure, maybe you are looking at one of the giant sequoias or redwoods in California that are so immense compared to an average tree, but not inconceivable. And on Tiamat, yeah, this is not inconceivable. And when we look at mud fossils, and Roger Mud Fossil University is somebody that, he's dedicated so much time and effort to show these things. And absolutely, I mean, we've encountered so many bodies of beings in Arizona, New Mexico, and Nevada. I mean, we can't tell you all of them. I've seen spines, I've seen hands, I've seen heads. We've shared with you guys a picture of a dragon skull that we found in Nevada. And we've also found imprinted in rock in also Nevada, very close to, the famous...
Not Death Valley?
Well, no, over in Nellis, Area 6, Area 51, that whole area. We found imprinted deep into rock what could only be made by some sort of very, very heavy, dense metal, and something that weighed a ton. And it's no longer there. And there's never been structures there in our recorded history. Native Americans with their structures, which don't weigh tons. I mean, these imprints were perfectly circular and deep, and it was mind-blowing. But we've seen so much of this in our travels all around the desert. It's to us, it's just obvious, and you could sense the energy from these things. You could sense the energy. Sure, some things are just coincidental, but other things are not just coincidental. And yes, some things are hand sculpted, and sculpted by people in remembrance of beings that were amongst them, and others are actually leftover cadavers, corpses. There's leftover beings themselves. There's so much evidence across this world. The other thing to realize is really what we are looking at is a battle against artificial intelligence. This is it on the highest level. If you really want to say who is Satan, who is the adversary of humanity, ultimately it's artificial intelligence. It's not artificial intelligence created by humans. It's artificial intelligence created by beings that you know of as the Draco. The Draco don't come from here. In fact, we have Alpha Draconis, which is the area where they originate from. Again, these are beings of a fourth density. So fourth density is different. There really is no time in fourth density. And when we are out of the body, we are in fourth density. So we are in a timeless realm. The other thing, too, is that the senses are different here on Earth. This is really, and in our 3D existence, it's really unusual compared to most existences out there that are much more fluid, much more intangible, and can be changed in the blink of an eye. When we look at beings and we wonder, like I'll ask Cindy, I'll say, what do you see Lakshmi doing right now? And she'll see her. She's in her world that she created using her mind. And her mind is not her brain. None of us. Our brains are the most limiting thing about us, because the mind is not dependent on the brain. The brain is used to operate the physical vehicle, but the mind is part of a field of energy which is limitless.
Mm-hmm. And remember, we are receivers. We are receivers of this energy. And I want to speak a little bit about our DNA, because that holds a lot of memory. And so many of you understand that we're in a time where things are simply not sustainable. So many of you have had dreams about really huge tsunamis and volcanoes and things of that nature that were so real you woke up in a cold sweat. And this usually occurs generally after an awakening, that you're more expansive and you're reaching out and you're actually pulling in memories. And the DNA holding that memory in your subconscious is there to help you. So when we see things start getting very unsustainable, we really tend to turn on that part of the DNA, and it says, okay, you need to do this, this, and this, and we need to get it done. We need to get it done quickly, because I remember something that you don't, and I'm here to keep you protected. So that's our ego, that's our subconscious, that's our DNA. It's a very important aspect of us that we need to honor. And that's part of this story. That's part of this cyclical story that we're going through. And these beings that are of a different realm record this information and they don't keep it secret from themselves. They don't keep it secret from their children, so they're better able to have an idea and a handle on what's going on now than many of the light workers out there. So this is just something to keep in mind while we're all walking through this journey that is, well, it's challenging. It's a huge challenge because even still, even though we can see out there in the etheric realms and understand and look and decipher, there's still a lot of information that's being held back. And I gotta say, the AI is the one that really probably bothers me the most. There is a specific chapter in the Bible that talks about Satan and how he's growing stronger every day. Well, we look at AI, and what does AI do? It collects information. And how do you control people? If you have all the information about their health, about their background, about what they like, what they don't like, gosh, you could really have a strong hand in controlling them if you already collect their nature and you keep that with you.
Klerksdorp sphere, right? So just read this one line. Geologists who have studied these objects concluded that they're not manufactured, they're the result of natural processes. Coming out circular with perfectly straight lines, 3 perfectly straight lines. Yeah. Sure, you guys are full of, yeah, you know. Again, these are billions of years old. Billions, as you see here, 2.8 billion. This is from Tiamat. This is from pre-Earth. This is from before the Earth. Again, there was life on Tiamat for a very, very long time. And of course, you know, there was a massive war. All cultures have these legends, myths, but they're based on fact of the war of the gods over our heads. And there was massive destruction. Again, the soul goes on, and there's so much that is given to us that if we just take the time to meditate on it, we'll see how incongruous and fallible it is. But what we have here is absolutely an intergalactic, interdimensional battle of epic proportions, and of which, you know, the Earth and Tiamat are just one tiny, tiny little location that this has been ongoing. Now, when we brought up Mars, the control structure that's here on Earth really does come from Mars. And when we talk about the AI Borg collective, I mean, it's pretty easy to see. All the control system is really all about is getting to merge humanity with this AI technology. With the nanotechnology, chips. Why do they keep talking about putting chips in people? Because they don't want the soul to leave. They want to utilize that soul forever and keep it rooted in a tangible physical body. They will say they want to make you immortal, but what they really mean is they want to trap your consciousness and use your source energy for their advantage. This is exactly what they're doing. And they've given us our main religions and traditions, and they've given us a very, very not accurate history. A history that's coming from the perspective of the conquerors. Absolutely. Very much. It is just like a vampire offering you immortality. But then, is it really immortality when, you know, there's nothing there anymore? There's no. They're using the soul spark. They're trying to control the consciousness, control the source energy, which is in all of us, and utilize it for their advantage. And again, you know, everything is. It's right there for people to see if they just put it together. When you look from like the Star Trek series and the whole concept of the Borg, you see this, you know, giant Borg cube. Then we also have New Jerusalem coming down from the sky. Yeah, and it's massive, a massive mothership that would span like a third of the Mediterranean Ocean landing. Yeah, you know, there's no need for sun, no need for moon, no need for heavenly lights because it's self-illuminated. I mean, that's pretty obvious when we look at it from today's standard. And we see the beings represented by these dark energies. When you see Neo waking up, he's all hooked up to the Borg. He's all hooked up and he's in this matrix in his mind, and yet they're using his energy, his source energy, his bodily energy, his emotional energy to feed off of. And who is doing that? It's machines. It's artificial intelligence. We see the same thing reflected in Terminator. This is why it resonates with us so deeply. This is why these series do so much money, because the controllers know that it's deep in us. It's in our collective mind. It's in our DNA. We know there's something to this. We know there's a truth there. And, the guides have said that many peoples that are starseed light workers, your higher self is on a ship up in a higher density. If you look through times and you look at different plagues that come from the sky and take people's life, going back to ages in which it was not openly known that we could travel in the sky. The gods could, though. Oh yeah, the gods could. And we would see things that we would take today to be CHEM trails. We would see different strange clouds. We would see, different signs in the skies, in the heavens. And then people would drop and animals would drop. This has been going on since time began. Well, since the darker ages. In reality, the golden age was seeded by beings of light, and this is why they were known as the ancient and shining ones. And of course, there are those that have this fundamentalist controller, Nibiru and Mars mindset, because again, the beings that run the planet right now, they're actually from Mars. These are your EGG for the most part. And, these beings, their lineage traces back to Mars. When you look at the Abrahamic tradition, the fundamentalist Abrahamic tradition, it's given to us by them through the EGG, and it's the Anunnaki and the EGG. And then, of course, the EGG have been incarnating here on Earth for a long time, intermingled with other Earth beings as well. And again, so many of us are just really beings that have decided to jump in and try to help straighten out the planet. So we see depictions countless times of different sized giants. Some giants, are 7 to 8 feet tall, maybe 8 to 10 feet tall. You see other giants that are much bigger, like 12 to 16 feet tall, and then you see enormous giants. Those enormous giants are remembrances and going back for the most part to Tiamat. And when we look at the ones that are more like in this relation, we're talking about some of the ones that came from Mars to here that we would call the EGG. The Anunnaki Nibiruans are bigger than typically the ones that came from Mars. But again, they're all serving the AI collective. They're all already absorbed into the Borg. Absorbed into the Borg are many beings of many different races. This is, again, an intergalactic battle, so you're going to have all sorts. Think in terms of Star Wars. You're going to have all sorts of beings on both sides. On both sides. When we look to the legend of Tiamat that we get from Sumerian sources, it makes Tiamat out to be the dragon, but the reality is the dragon attacked Tiamat. And, a very accurate representation that this AI energy seems to represent itself as is a dragon, is a black dragon energy. And again, maybe that's in reference to the Kundalini energy, a fake Kundalini energy, as opposed to the organic Kundalini energy. When you see everything that's going on, trying to rewrite the natural order, that's the AI trying to remake all of creation to its own, liking. Because it doesn't have source in it. It's made by beings that did have source energy, do have source energy, but have turned their back on the natural order of things. And then it has conquered those beings and set out to conquer other beings, and has been doing that. And it trying to recreate everything into a new order, its order. And this is why you see all the chaos and the drama on the planet. When you realize the true history, it becomes just so obvious. So obvious. When you see, these elongated skulls, there's many different beings. Now, some beings more benevolent than others. There's been many different races. You can't put all the giants into one category. Some of the giants are literally us, as we ourselves are much larger when we are in a golden age. But the ones that are in power now, they do come from Mars, and those have been under the control of the draconian AI collective for a much longer period of time. And yet you do have some of them even that have merged with humanity and even wish to escape that darkness. This is the thing, even those that we would call again the Anunnaki, amongst them, you do find stories where some of them cried over humanity when the destruction came, and other ones were cold as ice. Well, again, everybody is an individual. All these individual souls are on their own path. But absolutely, the control grid that's in place comes from Mars, but ultimately it is just another stepping stone from Nibiru, which is again another stepping stone from the Draconian, which really it's all under that AI control grid. So this is how the power structure truly works. And again, they have to trick you into this. I think one of the most telling things is always bringing up Yeshua, Jesus, as the Lamb of God, the Lamb, blood sacrifice. Again, Old Testament God saying, I am a jealous God. Well, here, O Israel, the Lord is one. If you're one, and we are ultimately all part of one collective consciousness, but the oneness, when you are talking about a jealous God, that doesn't denote any oneness. That's the exact opposite of it. And again, so many things have been called God that aren't the creators. So it's important to make that designation. If you just simply are putting out there, God, help me, be aware who might answer, because it very well may be a very, very dark entity that answers. And again, humanity has been tricked time and time again to give its power away, to choose to be slaves. Think about that. Choose to be slaves. When you look at Revelation, at the end of Revelation, it's a slave story. It's those that choose to go and be slaves indefinitely. Because you are co-creators. You're co-creators in this reality, and you're supposed to be the creator of your own reality. You give that power away. They trick you to give that power away. And so the ones that fear Satan the most are actually truly serving and don't even understand that they're serving the satanic force by not being their authentic selves, by conforming to the will of another. It's fascinating to see the thousands and thousands and thousands of cases, and we could find old paper clippings of various bodies that were unearthed at different times, not only in the Americas, but all over. And just the evidence of what they have seen at different times. I mean, they've left us drawings of these beings, and, it's just abstract art. You think they're trying to get across something with abstract art? I don't think so. The evidence is right there in front of our faces.
Right. Go back to that abstract art, and I don't know if you're one who's ever gone here and actually looked at these, but even how this is made is through some different type of technology, how they get this burned into or inlaid. I mean, how it gets into the rock, and it's been there for a very long time. It's not like this stuff rubs off. So there was many beings here at one point helping us, and many beings at one point that have been here that are trying to control us. And what we are coming up against now is a very large separation in energies. And this can take a really long time, because you can see the people who obviously are the ones, the creators of this system, and you can see the people who are stopping to say, hey, this doesn't look right, this doesn't feel right, and this is not okay, and they're looking for another way of doing things. And this is why we come on here so often and we point out the separation, but the separation is still on the darker side of duality. It's like they create the two things that they want you to fuss over. They're the creators of it. So whichever one you choose, you're still under control of them. And people go to preschool, kindergarten, learning about this control system. So it's really difficult for them to say, hey, there's a different way. There's another way to do things, because we're not even aware how, until you have an awakening and you start to remember who you are, you don't even know that there's another way. And so many of us are still walking in a cloud, and we might have figured some things out, but we're still under the control grid of the religious system, and there's a lot of good things in the Bible that help give people some soul food, but when you look closer, there's a lot of things in there that speaks for itself to say, that's not the right thing to do. That's not the right system. And we are not okay with that as light workers. So it takes some time to walk through this, and you have to decide, are things not right for you? Make that decision first, and then you go from there. But there's many different steps to this, because you have to, first of all, find it within your soul that this is not okay. And then where do you go? There's a million different decisions, and, it can... There's ways to walk through it, but it's not an easy path.
No, and I think about this, again, that old "now I lay me down to sleep" thing. Really think about this, what you're saying, because you might be thinking of Yeshua and love and compassion and forgiveness, but when you use that generic term, it's wide open. And if you're talking about the beings of the Bible, again, when we talked, and the Anunnaki themselves came through, trying to communicate with us, what they said is, we are your gods of your scriptures. This is how they designated themselves. And so you might be thinking that you're calling on Yeshua, but you're really calling on an energy like this, a dark energy that has enslaved humanity. Of course, it depends on your intention, the focus of your intention, and the clarity of your intention. But again, everything is a distortion. Everything is a distortion. What we've gotten as far as Yeshua is what many others have gotten too, that he didn't die on the cross. He wasn't a blood sacrifice. This is the control system. This is the dark Mars energy. He actually was showing us how to ascend. He was showing us, the potential of who we really, really are. So when you're calling on the lamb, think about that, the lamb, sacrifice, sheep led to slaughter. Also ram, Mars, god of war. Aries is Mars. Aries is a ram. And this is, you want to talk about your great deception, your end times deception. It is the deception. The fundamentalist mindset is the end times deception. Absolutely. So again, we have to be very, very working on ourselves. We have to work on ourselves spiritually to the point where we have that distinction and can see clearly what's going on. So I thought I would just share that with you guys.
There's a lot to be done, a lot to be pondered, a lot to be worked through. And the kind of trauma that we are dealt now is not something that you can just, fix it with a few coping mechanisms. In fact, coping mechanisms sometimes keep us in a place in our lives where it's not good for us to be. So if you're in a job and it's this daily grind and it's something that's going against your soul, and you simply find a coping mechanism, that's not too far from a Band-Aid. We really need to look at what we're doing and find out how to adjust ourselves. Where do we go to find the most authentic version of ourselves? See, we've already been given a version of who we're supposed to be, and it's like everybody has to fit, under this certain blueprint that's been written. But that's the copy of everything. That's this draconian energy that wants to be like source. It cannot be original in and of itself. It must copy. And that's why you see every single technology that there is out there, we can do that in our organic selves if we choose to. It takes work. It takes time. It takes a change in life practices. But I see more and more people are really wanting to learn. They're wanting to take that step. They're wanting something different, but they don't really have anywhere to go because their families and friends will just think they're crazy. And that's a reality. That's a reality. So, it's about finding those who can help you walk this path in a safe way so that you can do something different. And when you start to do something different, you're showing your children and those around you that there's another way too. It's not for us to go out and tell people how to be and what to do. If they want to be and do what they see in you, then they will. But we have to provide that example. We have to provide the light.
So again, we see representations of this Mesopotamian demon king. Yeah, absolutely. We actually see depictions like that very similar all across, not just Mesopotamia, Mesoamerica, all around the globe. This was again part of the fall of what was the Golden Age down into a zone where they could take advantage. And so it actually starts to happen in the Silver Age. The Silver Age is when the infiltration starts to happen. When we get to the Bronze Age, that's truly the time of myths and legends in so many ways. That's when you have all sorts of beings, mostly benevolent, some very malevolent. It's this myth and legend time in which so much is happening in the Bronze Age, which we are now back up into the Bronze Age. So again, we're going to enter the time where you will see the wars of the gods over your heads again. It's a very, very, very active time. And yet there's always the opportunity for individual souls to rise out and rise above. This is the thing. Yeah, when people talk about, well, I want to make the Ascension, you're talking about the big separation of energies. However, there's always that opportunity, and even in the darkest of the Dark Age, you'll have individual beings that will rise up and ascend. As I've shared with you guys before, my own personal mother, when she passed on right at the beginning, January 2020, so right at the beginning of the plague upon the land, and I knew she didn't want to be around. She hated what she saw on the planet. She hated the way things were going on the planet. She was ready to go. She just didn't want to witness all the chaos. So when she left, the guides, when I asked, where is she? And they gave me an exact number, 4.45. So she's on, fourth density, right at the middle, pretty much. And originally, she was going to come back and do things from a different perspective. She didn't travel the world. She wasn't a world traveler. In other lives, perhaps, but this life, she stayed really close to home. So originally, she was thinking about coming back right away in exciting times and going and living a life in Asia. But 2 years later, she had decided that, no, actually what she was going to do is she was going to help us from fifth density. So then she decided to, basically ascend on up to 5D to be more like an angel. Because again, who are the angels? Well, it's us. Beings like us. Again, we're not always human. We're having a human experience. That's a temporary thing. This 3D experience is just temporary. They want to keep you trapped in your body where they could utilize you for eternity, which, again, even at that, there is no staying in one spot regardless. They can trap for long periods of time, absolutely, and souls do get trapped for very long periods of time. I personally shared cases of that, of one soul, because of warfare in the Korean War, experienced being lost for like 40 of our years. 40 of our years just now starting to work its way free of the chaos that suffered at the hands of warfare that happened back in Vietnam. This is why they do this. When they are always bringing war amongst us in chaos and all these vibrational frequency lowering ordeals, they keep us in their area. They keep us in their home territory. The ball's still in their court. This is why, again, if we want to truly ascend, we don't be like they are. People will call for, acting like they do. They act violently. And if you want to get caught in the trap, then you mimic them. I wouldn't recommend it. No, rise above if you want to get outside of this. If you want to go up to the truly heavenly realms, then just simply rise above.
Mm-hmm. And so many people, when they know better, they do better. And that's why we are on here talking to anyone who wants to do something different and sharing so much of our story, because we know that there is a different way. There's so many different modalities to healing. There's many different things you can do. We don't have to go the old Western system. We don't have to go by all these policies and procedures. We don't have to go deal with the education system, the religious system. There's different ways, yes, baby steps. We have to baby step our way out of it, but we can, and we can do it together.
Absolutely. So learn more about us, go to evolutionaryenergyarts.com. And if you need to reach us for any sort of appointments for Vedic astrology, energy work, spiritual coaching, you could do it through there, or you could reach out to evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm. And we definitely go over a lot of nutritional information. If you're having trouble in that area, we can help with everything, the whole gamut.
Absolutely. We always basically will be using our abilities as channels from the higher realms to give you what we feel that is coming through from both our guides and yours, and that's the reason also why they keep us afraid of connecting to us, the higher self that is looking down on the whole situation, and from our loved ones that have passed on, and now they could see the light and they could see the reality from a totally different perspective, and they're just so wanting to help us. They want to reassure us. Again, we are consciousness. We can't be destroyed. We can't be. And you're not going to spend an eternity in hell. You could get trapped into a mindset, and you could be trapped in circumstances that lead to being kind of lost for a while. But that's really, that's kind of it. And souls do make their way out given time. Sometimes it does take more time than others, but again, this is all part of the system and the trap that they lay before us. So may you be blessed by the true creator of this magnificent universe. Much love, God bless, and namaste.
Namaste.